Hey guys, it's me, Epic Rocky Gaming, and today we're gonna learn about how to get a date. So, I feel that there's a lot to it about getting a date, but we're gonna go through the steps of how to properly get a date and be sure that you win that girl or probably boy, I don't know. This is not really for girls, but this is more for boys. The boys, because I don't know. The wrist tips I'm about to give you are about to be pretty manly and cool. So let's jump into it, guys. Let's get started. So first, we want to identify the things that we don't want to do. So the first thing we don't want to do is act weak. You know, when you kind of act weak, that's something that's like literally just something you don't want to do. Where I feel that a lot of people are just gonna like literally just see you and they're gonna be like, oh my god, he's weak, and just like they always want bigger and better. Just they want bigger and better, like bigger guys or bigger things on them, and just like I don't know, guys. Like you really just need to like act strong and tough and big for your lady, and cuz if she like literally she'll like instantly lock in, bro. Like literally she'll instantly lock in. She'll want to start popping on you. So it's like what you want to do is you want to just like let me draw this out real quick. You could do like this thing, you know, and just like kind of I don't know, she's gonna be like, oh my gosh. Look, like literally, like the wall thingy. Like here's the wall, and you're literally like kind of giving it to her a bit, like just like this is your arm, your hands going up against the wall, just like there we go. I don't know why, just like it's kind of like that. I mean, just for some reason, girls like that. I think just like an anime, you see that a whole bunch of times where it's just like you see a girl just want to like get like put up against a wall, and that's just like the best idea, I'd say. And so just like start sticking your hand out, like so you got to stick your hand out like this, and you got to be like, hey, how you doing? There you go. That's one step out of the way, you know and they might get a little flustered, they might feel a little flush, and so what you got to do next is you got to be like, it's okay. I'm not gonna hurt you. And you remember, big smile, guys, always keep that big smile. And they're gonna be like, oh my gosh, this guy's hitting on me. And then literally, guys, then we're gonna go to the next step, bro. Like the next step. I mean, if you want to go after friends too. So this is for the friend phase. Like this one's for more like strangers. You're trying to. This was the stranger phase. Now we're going to the friends one. If you want to ask out a friend, like just you want to get to you. They're like probably your childhood friend, or they'll probably like about that age where you really appreciate them and you want to really get to know them in other ways, especially in bed. Then I'd say then you should be able to be like, "Hey, let's draw this out real quick. I feel like you guys will have a better understanding if I draw this out. Hold, let me line with. So first thing you want to do, you want to you go over to their house, and then you like, you bring them, and like, you bring the old Lego set over, and you start building Legos, and then you ask them, you know, when you're building Legos, you know what, you want to grab a cup of coffee. It's like, here you are, here's a girl, there's Stacy and you, and she's just like, oh my god, I love Legos. My god, I'm so happy. And then there's you, just like building a little, I don't know, Lego Batman, brick by brick. It's like you ask her out, you know, I love building these Legos with you, but what I love building with you is getting some like food that will work. For some reason, for some reason that will work. You know, just asking like, you want to get some food, literally genius idea, and just like she'll instantly be like, "Oh my gosh, let's go get some food." Cuz she won't even think about it. She won't think about it, guys. Like you got to think about it. Bro, literally, bro. It's just like you got to instantly go for the food, bro. Just like ladies love the food. And if you're buying, then yeah, literally, guys, like, it's like the stuff that they like that you already know and understand is like the thing that they'll go for. So let's say, they love Rosalina Hot Wheels, for some god forsaken reason. They do. They really love this one thing, just I don't know why. They really like it, and she's really hot, and she's just like, man, like, why isn't there like, other figurines like this? This is pretty cool. But it's just like, she really likes this, and like, she also thinks this is hot. You'd be like, we have something in common right there, let's just go get some like Hot Wheels together. That shit is fire. Like, oh my god, you're getting Hot Wheels with me and you love Rosalina? Let's do it. Like, holy shit. Like, you gotta think about it, guys, The best ways, bro. I don't, bro. We're not talking about that right now. We're not talking about that right now, bro. Not right now, bro. Not the $65 candy, bro. All right, but for right now, literally, bro, just like, oh my god, literally, you literally can get the Hot Wheels at Target and Walmart, bro, and just pull up to a Walmart with your girl, and then that's where phase two comes in. Okay, but let's talk. Let's actually talk about who you don't want to date. Your cousin. You know, for some reason, you could see that in some movies, some TV shows, where for some reason, you're just dating your cousin, It's just like, even though you're kind of like almost related in a way, you're still, for some reason, people just like the idea of just really dating your cousin. Just you don't question it. You just go with the flow with the movie, and just you should not do that at all. Don't ever date your cousin. You already lost right there, because if people see you dating your cousin, then people will question you and think that you just want to frick your family. Don't do it, guys. Don't go that route. Don't be trying to frick your family, guys. That's not worth it. Don't try to frick your family. And so just don't ever date your cousin. Another one, like just anyone in your family you don't want to frick. Don't do it. Just babies will like big bump on their head, and just they'll not come out right. Just like this is not really a good. It's not really a smart baby right here. Not very smart baby. Plan B, guys. I mean that's okay. Okay. Another thing, just don't go after gold diggers, guys. I ain't saying she's a gold digger, but she shouldn't be. I can't finish that song. You guys know the lyrics. You guys can't be chasing gold diggers, because you will most likely be paying for them all the time. Where, let's say, just this one Stacy, she just wants you to pay for, like, you first go to an Olive Garden, take her out to somewhere nice, and then the next thing you know, she wants you to pay for her groceries, and then you go to freaking like the Whole Foods, even though you tell her, it's expensive as hell, and she's like, no, I don't care, you're paying for it. And it's like, like, you give her a reason, like, why we're dating, just like, she tells you she loves you, and then just fucking Whole Foods, bro. And then she goes after a different guy, just bigger and better, and just don't, bigger is better. Bigger is better. So if you ever get the opportunity, there you go. Bigger is better. Literally. I would always go for bigger and better, guys. Like, literally, I love me a bigger and better. I am a bigger, better person. Like, it's like, have you ever just like got a big thing of like, just of like burgers or something, like, you love that burger, you want to shove that thing in your mouth right now. It's like, you see this fucking burger right here, look at that fucking shit right there. Oh my god, I love me a fucking good burger, bro. Like, you sticking your arm out and you're like, oh my god, you're about to devour that thing, bro. That my mouth would be like wide open just eating that shit. Just like, I don't know why, bro. It's just like, it's just so good, bro. It's just like, look at that shit, bro. That's just gooey. It's cheesy. It's bigger and better. Holy hell. Like, I just love that shit, guys. I just love it. Every time I just look at a burger, I'm just like, oh my god. And so, just like, you always got to go for that bigger and better burger. Holy. So, there you go. That's something you should do. So, there you go. All right. And then, like, some other ways to, like, get a date. You could also just, I don't know, like, hmm just just try to show your collection, just like, just you could show someone, your like some random stranger, your collection too. Sometimes that could work. You could be like, if you want to, like, actually like date someone from class, and you're just like, you want to be like, okay, I got a little collection here, just kind of surprise them. Don't, because you could be like, just trying to start out some simple conversation. You just start pulling out your Hot Wheels. You're just like, I especially love Rosalina. You could like pull out this shit, and you could be like, oh my gosh, she's so, like, beautiful. She's so hot. She's driving a car. She's totally not gonna crash. And she'll be like, oh my gosh. Sometimes it could go a little sideways, but 99.9999999% of the time, it should work. There you go. So, just always try to, impress them in some way, like being a collector, not a gold digger though, not a gold digger. You don't want to you could pull out a lot of money and be like, I earned this much, just like, kind of, you could do that, I guess. But I mean, that's not the most optimal way. There's different ways about going about this. But anyway, just like, you just now you're on the date, we're going to phase two. You're on the date, let's just start off with, like, the friend you already know. So you already know them really well, but you want to try out some new things. So let's see. So, just like, you're just sitting there, you're just like, on your butt, you're just like, you're really having a good time, and she's like, she's also having a good time. She's just really hot, she has like blonde hair, she has like very big assets, just somewhere. But anyway, you're just like, you could take her out to like like a McDonald's. She really likes that McDonald's. I love me a good McDonald's. Just like, get some Burger King too. Something simple. You don't want to start off too big, bro. Just look at these burgers. You want to like eat those burgers, guys. Like, and just, I feel that you just would be able to just really enjoy them. Where a lot of times people just don't appreciate good food, just being able to eat a good burger, that's really good. But, just eating a burger, just would change the whole date overall, where you'll be able to really have that appreciation from her because of the fact that you chose something very basic at the start. But anyway, just remember, guys, like, also another thing, what we want to do is just like, ask how, like, like, what does she think of us? Just straight up be like, what do you think of us? If it's a more your child friend, and then she's gonna be like, I love you so much, and then that's just gonna be really nice and really hot. Just like, man, like, she's gonna admit she loves us. Like, that's kind of crazy right there. Just like, oh my god. Just like, and then you guys could go walk. Go take a little walk too. Just like walk outside, just like little like, ooh, just like take a nice little stroll around the park, just like, that's really nice. Just being able to just really appreciate the scenery, and just sometimes you just really have to look around you and just really think like, am I finding like That perfect asset right there. But anyway, you know, if you ever come around like the park and stumble upon someone like, I don't know, bigger though, like, that just, just really crazy big. Like, that's just hot. You gotta go for the gold. Like, if they're hitting on you, fuck that. Like, honestly, you gotta really switch up real quick. You gotta be like, guys, I'm sorry. Like, you gotta be like, I'm sorry. You know, I think you're a great girl, but I just found someone better. And then you just switch up and then you go for the bigger and better. Because sometimes there's always better fish in the sea. So there you go. Bigger and better. I swear, I love me some bigger and better. But there you go. That's what could happen. That's what could happen with your childhood friend. The next scenario, just let's say it's more of, you're some stranger. This is a stranger person you try to visit up. This is they're like, you already know they have that bigger assets right there. Just like they have that wonderful like assets right there, man. Like, holy. And you're smiling. It's already happy. So you don't always want to be straight up with them. You want to be like, you know, how's it going? Just like, what do you do for a living? Do you actually have a job and pay rent and do a whole bunch of things and contribute to the society? You know, and if she says she doesn't, what then? You know what I mean, guys. Just dump her ass right there. All right, but anyway, if she does say she does contribute to society in some sort of way, then you could start with the next topic. You could be like, just say, I really like, just like the hobbies you do, and just like, just always say you like it, cuz people will eat that shit up. Just like, they'll be like, "Oh my god, yeah, I really like how you breathe and really talk, and have really big eyes and big other things and really big everything, and yeah, just really gotta always stare at the eyes, just kind of like always look, like you always have to make eye contact, because you don't, they're not really like you. I don't know, they don't like you, they think you're weird, they think you're funny, and uh, shouldn't be doing that. But just always remember, guys, like, they have to like you. You can't like let them control you or like manipulate you and just lie to you in some sort of way in order for you to do something for them. So, you don't want to be buying groceries for them for the next couple of years, and they just tell you they're going out for some other fucking guy, and he's some fucking dumb fuck, bigger and better motherfucker. Anyway, just like, another thing, just really walk around the park. You just walk hand in hand. That's just really nice. Just like, okay, okay, let's just keep walking around the park. I'm just like, man, just this is just something very exciting. Look at you guys on this wonderful day. Her name probably Stacy. Just like very nice girl, very nice. Very nice until she probably cheats on you like a couple of times, and then you have to. Then just like you forgive her, but then she does it again. Just like that's great. You just love that. Every time you just talk about it with her, she says it's that's great. That's great. That's amazing right there. Bigger and better, guys. They always love it bigger and better. Just like that's why you switch up real quick if you find someone better. But anyway, literally, guys, it's just something you have to keep in mind. You know, and you could play a little aggressive right here. You could just like really take her to like the car. Just like get her some like ice cream and some milkshakes. Because you love that milkshake real quick, and you just want to drink that shit up. I love me a good milkshake. Like literally, guys, you got to be like going to all these different places in order to see what she appreciates and understanding the many hobbies she has, in order to be like, all right, I love her. And then you're gonna be able to actually find the one you actually love and be like, oh my god, she's perfect. You know? You just gotta really think about it, guys. Like, think about it. Like, do you love her? Like, you literally, like, you gotta be like, do I love this person that literally wants me to pay for everything? Literally doesn't want my freaking like Hot Wheels set to get any bigger. Just sits there and mopes and bitches. Does she do all that stuff? And that if it's no, then that's great. That's phase 3 shit. We're going to phase 3. Phase 3, guys. Like, literally. Like, you got to keep this all in consideration, because if you don't, you're going to get fricked. Like, do you want to get fricked? Do you want to get bent over and fucked? No. You want to be able to keep that good relationship between everybody. Like, phase 3, that's the thing. Another thing we're going to have to talk about. Relationships. Like, every friend, just like, ooh, that's going to get interesting, just like, if she tells you, you can't hang out with these people, just, they're mean and they're scary and big and better. It could be like you're not able to hang out with probably your best friend, and she says, you gotta cut him off. And it's just like, why? And then she's like, because you're spending too much time with him. And I'm like, okay, sure, why not? I really want this relationship to work out. And then she's just like going for fuck. Okay, well let's not talk about that again. But just so you gotta pay attention to that. Always pay attention to see if she's really controlling right there in phase 3. You don't want her to like really be manipulating you. She's just like, this is you right now. Just you're happy because she's messing with your mind. Like, literally, bro. She's like doing a whole pottery class in your head. Like, look at this shit. The devilish smile. Literally, pottery class. Like, have you just ever seen anyone just get manipulated in the head? Like, it's insane to the membrane. Insane, got no brain. There you go. My nose is already I know. And so literally, guys, like, just pay attention to that. Even pay attention to the fact that, if she liked the fact that, just those little things about you, like, or those bad things about you, just like, you don't want her to be like, just dumping you because of the fact that you farted once, and then, just like, it's natural, it slipped, and, she's just like, ew, that's disgusting. I don't want to be with you. And then she's just like, she walks away because, you kind of just slipped. You let it slip, and it just, that's great. That's all wonderful and dandy. Just fuck. You're just like, sometimes you just walk outside, you're with her, and then, you're walking, and then it just fucking slips, and, you're just like, fucking, she's like, ew. Like, literally, I'm just like, I don't know. Sometimes you can't help it, just sometimes the things you eat, like, you try to eat like everything in the house, and then, try not make things go bad, and then just, you can't really control that, and, shit happens. Let me just erase that, and man, man, I really need, I do not have any tissue around me. Like, I really do not have any tissue. Just like, hold up. I got something. Hold up. But literally, guys, like, think about who you want to be with. They have to like you for who you are, and not just some dumb thingy that you did. Hold up. Oh my god, my nose. Oh my god, I feel so much better. Oh my god, my nose. Oh my god, she has, like, literally, guys, like, even like, sometimes you could use your little disadvantages to an advantage, where, you could be like very like crippled and everything, and just kind of use that as your advantage, where you could be like, like, I'm just very crippled, like, like being very blind or like very deaf, and, she thinks it's cute, sometimes Sometimes, they just think it's cute, just like just being very blind for some reason, just I don't know why. They really like that stuff. I don't know why they just you just don't you I don't know why what kind of sense they just like little things like you might as well just get a bunny and just bring it to class and then be like, "This is my bunny, little schmorzer." And then they'll eat that shit up. Just you got to think about those things, just think about what you can use and if you're blind, you could just say, I'm very blind and just I can't see well, but one thing I want to see is you. That'll turn the switch on right there. I'll get her going right there. Just like man, then she'll be like, start eating you up right there, like. This is kind of stale. When does this expire? 8/30/26. That's great. It's almost about to expire, guys. That's why you should eat your goldfish faster, guys. But anyway, guys, like think about it, guys. Just like a lot of the times, just you gotta use your disadvantages to your advantage, because you could probably find something that just works. Just sometimes they always just work. And then just like finally we move to the last thing, where it's just like you bring her home, just you got the girl, and it's just like you just gotta be sure that she's happy, because if she's happy then you're happy, and then it's just like that's great. You just get like you get a fucking little house, it's just like this is you. You have a stable job, you have like everything going for you, she's happy too, she's there, and then she just like she just always sits in that house, you're wondering what she does. I mean, you don't even have any kids, you just kind of like question what she does in her spare time, but then she's like, oh, just some Pilates, and then for a fucking fact that we don't have a fucking yoga mat where she can do Pilates, or no soft area to do Pilates. So you don't, and then you try to look at her for a second, just try to see any of her progress, and then she's like, oh my god, yes, it's just gonna take a while. But then you go through her fucking phone, and it's like, you see some things right there, and it's like sometimes you gotta pay attention to that. Just you just gotta think about that, guys. You just have to look before you jump. Like I always like me. I always look before I jump. I'm not delusional. I don't just follow these random girls that just just fucking random ass orders and telling me to pay for fucking groceries for fucking like up to $150 fucking $50, even though it's fucking two people in the house. That's great. Just like sometimes you just gotta like really just think about it, guys. Just think about who you're gonna be with. Just like you could try to reference some things, and from stuff, but you have to really just be aware of the fact that just you want to follow you, and just like really have to appreciate, just she's gonna have to appreciate you for being you, and not just like some fucking fake thing, even like she's just like fucking. It's just like she's like, even though they're kind of putting on a facade, just try to like let that ice break, you just kind of break the ice down, and just be able to let her shine, just like really be like, you're really pretty, and I just want to see you without makeup on. And then you just look at her without makeup on, and you look at something interesting, I guess. Sometimes you gotta hit a miss. Okay, but like what does Google think? Is bigger better? Is bigger better? Let's see. Is bigger better? While it holds true in some specific, often leads to diminishing returns, negative outcomes. Okay, let's see. R/dating on women. Do women think it's bigger is better? I would take someone who could give amazing head over a huge dong any day. If it's too big, it thingies. And I think you'll find that's a common response. Size doesn't really matter past a certain point. For me, I prefer the connection and skills. Wow. And then we just get someone. Nah, bigger is it better? Just like we get all this. This is fucking Reddit. You don't fucking trust Reddit. Because you know want to know who is on fucking Reddit? Some fucking dyed hair mother freaking like. Oh my god, you don't want to do that. Like it's always a facade with these women. I swear, it's just like sometimes you just try to like really say hi to them, and they're just like they just like, oh yeah, hi, and just one fucking line that shit. It's fucking stupid. Just that's also another thing you have to pay attention to. The one-liners. Just you ever just try to talk to a woman and then they're just giving you some fucking one-liner and that's all they can fucking talk about, even though you want to talk more about with them. You ever just get that shit from them? They just don't really appreciate the fact that you're trying to start up a whole conversation just to work something out. And yes, she just does some fucking one-liner and just tries to like, throw you off, and that's just great. So, just make sure that another thing is just like, always try to not have yourself be thrown off by this woman. Literally, if she throws you a one-liner, walk away. You don't want to deal with that shit, because next thing you know, she doesn't have any hobbies, she doesn't have any interests. And then she just doesn't like you at all. Just like, fuck me, bro. Just she doesn't like the Hot Wheels, even though we talked before about the Hot Wheels, and she seemed all right about it, but then it's just like just I don't know why. I don't like sometimes you just kind of question your sanity at that point. Just like does she like you at that point? You try to take hints, you try to read about like many articles about women, and then it's just like that's just great. you know have you just like ever think about like trying to date a woman, and then they're giving you several hints, but then those hints actually aren't right, and they're like actually meaning to be friends or brothers, or like I don't know where the fuck, just like it just gets really confusing sometimes, and so you also have to really pay attention to those hints, so you don't get thrown off and just get thrown under the bus like really hard, and just you have a whole day where you're just crying in bed, just eating goldfish. You just don't want to deal with that shit. Just Jesus. Let me eat some fucking goldfish. This shit's about to expire. Man, I love goldfish. Squirtle isn't my favorite Pokemon, but I do love me some goldfish. Man. Mm. It's stuck in my teeth. Hold up. Oh, let me get some water. Hold up. Oh. 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 That was good. That was good. Needed that water right there. Yeah, the goldfish is still stuck in my teeth. Bro, that shit is kind of hard to get out. Oh my god. Oh my god, my teeth. All right. Anyway, the next thing I want to talk about is like fucking like Toradora real quick. Let me talk about Toradora. I swear, this anime, I don't know why people eat this shit up. They love this girl. I don't know what's her face, Taiga or whatever, and for some reason, just oh my god, she's so kawaii. Just everyone loves this anime, and just she's always beating on the main character. So for some reason she's like, I'm gonna like every second she takes, she's just punching the shit out of this guy. Just like fuck. She's just beating him up. Literally, she would literally punch him in the balls. She would like literally just like always just like attack him in some sort of way. And literally, I don't know how this guy came to like her. It just, if I've ever been in a relationship where I've just keep getting attacked by just this random midget, then I would really reconsider my whole life choices right there. Literally, you do not want to be in a relationship where you're getting attacked by a freaking midget. Like literally, guys, like you literally start dating some random midget, like because you spent some time with her, you got to know her. No, I do not like her. I hate her. She's stupid. I don't know. What is this anime rating? Who rated this shit? Let me see this shit real quick. Oh my god. Who rated this anime? I have to know. Oh my god. Literally. Oh my gosh. Hold on, hold on. Hold on. Let me see this. Let me see this real quick. I'm trying to find it. No. Bingo. 7.9. That is crazy. 7.9 on IMDb. I want someone to I want to read the comments on this. I want to learn. I want to learn about this. I want to see why. What do they say about this anime? You know? Oh, I have to sign in. Okay, hello. A 10. It's simply amazing. The way it faces with characters, emotions, and personalities is simply amazing. Hold up. You'll be completely captured by the story from the beginning. It is mainly about love story, but has also a lot of funny, sentimental, deep scenes. I cried. This anime can shake your feelings like only Japanese stuff can do. Well, in my opinion. I'm not doing that voice again. The animation is also very well done. I love these drawings. I recommend it to everyone, in particular to everyone that loves romance, sentimental or slice of life things. Great. That's great. Just I. Okay. Okay. Let's. I laughed. I suffered. I cried. What did this guy say? What did this guy say? I'm trying to describe what I felt for Toradora, and it really complicates me. It was such a beautiful and sad trip at the same time that it left me with a warm feeling of having seen a story that caught me from beginning to end. I know that Toradora may seem to some the development of a toxic story. Oh my gosh, it's like I'm trying to read and I'm just kind of burping right now. Oh my, okay, I think I stopped. Okay, of a toxic story, and it may be true, but you have to look beyond that. It is for me a story of unions, of fitting in somewhere, of belonging, of learning to feel important for others, and for others a story that is and will be precious to me because that's the way it should be. Okay, let me see this one. Here we go. Boom, baby. 30 helpful, but 34 dislikes. That is crazy. Okay. All reviews here are positive. I want to leave a review for people who might not like this anime. It has raving reviews on the web. Someone said here correctly. That's the first half of the episode is a drag, but I forced myself to carry on due to the reviews. And then it gets much better, but I wouldn't recommend it to any adults or 18 plus, which makes sense. It's probably aimed at a 8 to 14-year-old audience. Why would an adult want to watch this? Well, because there are animes with deep and heartwarming messages, even though they're aimed at children. Hayao, I don't know who that is. I'm not pronouncing that. Films comes to mind in terms of one could think of Natsume's Book of Friends. I don't know if you guys know that. Oh, Clannad. I think I've seen that. But any of these series has much more depth to their stories, characters, and messages than Toradora. I don't know if people were using a different translation, but I couldn't see any deep depth in most Toradora episodes. The last ones are a bit different, but they go through an entirely predictable and beaten path in animes, copied and pasted basically. Toradora's characters are shallow, almost undimensional. The exception is the most transformations toward the end into something a bit more mature, unrealistic, and very childish. Unrealistic characters are fine. Clannad and Angel Beats, for example, have a bunch of them, but their unrealism serves a higher purpose. Here, they are unrealistic, mostly due to their silliness. I guess it's supposed to be funny, but in a bratish way for children to laugh when they blossom in the end. It's still unrealistic, unfunny, childish, and silly. There are bigger life lessons to be transmitted. Okay, I'm not reading all this. I'm not reading all this. I'm not doing that. But you get the idea. I don't really like Toradora. Like I watched the anime. I mean that anime is kind of mid. Really mid. Like I would not really like if I were to recommend a first anime, I would watch like I don't know, probably like Dragon Ball Z, but you know, people are like, you know, oh my god, JJK, JJK. I don't know. But anyway, let's go back to the dating scene. Guys, literally for dating, you know, remember the steps, guys, you know, you got to ask, you know, you got to kind of confront them about it. Then you got to be able to just like, you know, like say hi, yeah, I really like, you know, your things, you know, you got to be very complimentive, and then you got to walk around the park, and you know, and then you know, for the final phase you just got to, you know, live together, you know, really experience what it's like to live with her and just appreciate her and just really think about, you know, just if this is a really the right girl you want to be with. But yeah, you know, just really go through those phases, and then you know you be able to get that girl. You know, just like you got to think about those things, guys. Remember. Let me search up. Hold up, bad romance anime. I want to see something real quick because I literally. Here we go. Let me see. Bad romance anime. Domestic girlfriend. I don't know. Don't watch this. Don't ever watch this. You don't want to watch this. This shit is cursed. Don't ever think about watching this. That is crazy. No, haven't seen that one. I don't know, bro. I don't know about that one. It's. I don't know if this one's good. I have no idea. I mean, this is just something weird. Very. I have not seen that one. I don't know. There you go. Just honestly, if I were to actually give my honest, like if I were being honest here, no, straight no. I could go if you guys want me to go in an in-depth analysis on like this anime right here. I could do that. But literally, I just want to see some of the animes that were just like other animes that were just bad that I've watched, because like I've watched many animes, many animes my time. I'm really old, and my god, I'm kind of that guy, you know. I'm just like, man, you've lived through a long life, and you're like, you know, you watch many animes, and I know this, like I know this one, I don't know that one, this one's just weird. Yeah, but you know, make sure you watch the good ones. You get the good ones, and yeah, you know, just, that's what you got to learn. You know, and remember, bigger is sometimes better. You know, once you go, I can't say that. I'm gonna get banned. All right, but anyways, guys, I really hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, please be sure you like, thumbs up, subscribe. I don't know. I'm kind of tired right now. I'm really hungry, and I want dessert. There you go. All right. Bye bye, guys. Adios. Bye bye. Bye bye.